Okay. Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome everybody to the December 8th, 2025 regular city council meeting. I got a couple of announcements. First of all, if you'd like to speak tonight, make sure you sign up with the city clerk. She's right over here. And we'll be announcing the rules of public comment in a few minutes. And then secondly, we have the volleyball team in the back. They'll be coming up very soon. And then after that's over, I'm sure that they're not going to want to stick around for the rest of the council meeting. So that'll open up some more seats. We also have some additional seating in the conference room across the hall. So with that, I'd like to ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Present.
Councilor Runyon.
Present.
Councilor Randall.
Present.
Councilor Richardson.
Present.
Councilor Ring.
Present.
Mayor Mays.
Present. Item 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to call on Council Member Scott Randall to please lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's gonna be a thing.
Hey, I don't mind. It's actually kind of fun.
Well, Brady, we're going to appoint you in charge of the lights. Okay, you're back there, County Commissioner. I think he's qualified. Okay, item 4 is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Ring and seconded by Councilor Richardson to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 5. This is the part of my job I enjoy the most. Ever since I was elected mayor in 2019, we have tried to honor those young people that have achieved something significant on either a regional level or a statewide level, and that's why we're here tonight. These honors are usually for something scholastic or community service, and or athletics. And in this case, of course, we're here to honor the 2025, the Dalles High School the girls volleyball team. I had a pleasure of attending I think it was the quarterfinal match against Staten, and they dominated that match. And I knew they were on to bigger and better things when they took the match in 3 sets. And I think the closest score they had in all 3 sets was 25-8. So they dominated that, and they went on, of course, to the finals. So I will also let you know that they were the Tri-Valley Conference champions, Class 4A state tournament runner-up. As I mentioned, they took second in the state. They had 9 players selected for the all-conference honors. The award was highlighted by the mother and daughter combination of Jaslyn Morris Holmes. My sophomore grandson says you like to be called Jazzy. Is that right? Okay. You probably know him, but I'm not going to mention his name in public. Her mother, Teresa Morris, was the coach, and she was the Coach of the Year recipient for the conference. We had the TVC, the conference first team was Jazzy, junior mid blocker Evelyn Rogers, and senior mid blocker Cleo Corbin. The second team conference, senior setter Caitlin Gatton and freshman setter Taylor Tuia. Junior also Edie May. Honorable mention, senior Rubio, who was a defensive specialist, and a senior, Noraya Gallegos. I hope I pronounced those names correctly. Jazzy also made All-State first team, and Caitlin Gatton was second team All-State along with Edie May. So with that, I'd like to ask the Coach Morris, to come up to say a few words about the team. And we have certificates of recognition for the team and the coaches. And before Teresa gets up there, I want to read the certificate of recognition for the coach. In recognition of outstanding leadership and guidance of the 2025 the Dalles High School girls varsity volleyball team, the team earned the title of Tri-Valley champions, completing league play undefeated with an 8-0 record and no sets lost across all league matches. Under your leadership, the team went on to place second in the Class 4A state tournament in November of 2025, having entered the playoffs ranked number 7 in Oregon and finishing the season with 18 wins and 6 losses, ranked number 7 going in. That's, you guys who showed them, huh? Yeah. The City of the Dalles commends your dedication, mentorship, and commitment to excellence. Your guidance reflects great pride on the team, the school, and our community. On behalf of the Mayor, City Council, and the citizens of the Dalles, please accept our congratulations. Presented this 8th day of December 2025. So I'll turn it over to you. So there's a microphone there if you'd like to use it. Okay.
Yeah, we had a great year. We compensate every year, but that's the year this year for sure. Great group of girls. They're gonna do awesome things in life. I know it. Just from knowing them on the volleyball part. So, if you ever get a chance to watch volleyball, go watch volleyball against the Dalles. Because they will entertain you. Not just on the court, but our bench also.
Thank you. You want to stay up here and help me board you? Assistant coach. Gio Rodriguez.
Sorry, they're out of town or volleyball.
Mayor Mays, can you use the microphone?
I like half the word.
Mela Beltran.
She. Sorry.
Aislinn Rubio. Come on up, Aislinn. Recognition of your outstanding achievement as a member of the 2025 the Dalles High School girls varsity volleyball team. The team earned the title of Tri-Valley champions, completing league play undefeated with an 8-0 record and no sets lost across all league matches. You went on to place second in the Class A 4A state tournament in November. We commend your dedication, sportsmanship, and commitment to excellence. Your contributions reflect great pride on your team, your school, and our community. So on behalf of the mayor and city council and the citizens, please, congratulations. Want to take a picture?
You can step up closer to the dais, sir.
Evelyn Rogers. Mariah Gallegos. Edison Gunter. Espen Rubio. Kenzie Bustos. Leo Corbin. Congratulations. Edie May. Morgan Donovan. The aforementioned Jaslyn Morris Holmes. Get a picture. I'd like to also recognize Jim Taylor, the athletic director for the high school back there, doing a great job. For the girls.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and fill in the seats in back, everybody.
7 of them.
Okay, item 6 is audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. Interested citizens are required to sign up in advance to be recognized. Up to 3 minutes per person will be allowed. We will also ask that you not be repetitive with previous speakers. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer the question tonight or refer that question to the appropriate staff member who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. If a response by the city is requested and that response is not immediately provided, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. Okay, we have a number of speakers that have signed up. I'm going to call on Janet Amata first, not because of what she has to say, but because she's an avid Chicago White Sox fan.
And Mr. Mayor, my apologies, but we're going to have to take one chair from one generous volunteer. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Please give us your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Janet Hamada, and it's 1113 Kelly Ave. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight about my concerns. My name is Janet Hamada, and I'm the executive director of the Nextdoor Inc., which has been serving people in the Dalles since 1984. In case you don't know what we do, I'll tell you our mission statement and some of our 36 programs. Our mission is to open doors to new possibilities to strengthen children and families and improve communities. What this means is that we're not the first level of services like housing and food, but we try to prevent children and youth from experiencing bad things. And if they do, we help them heal from the trauma of what they have experienced. At our office at 11th and Kelly, we have a drop-in center for teenagers. We have an alternative school for middle and high school students. We provide assistance to children aging out of the foster care system, and we provide therapy for hundreds of children. There is so much more, including summer camps and leadership development and health promotion for our Native American as well as Spanish-speaking neighbors. The 116 people who work at the Nextdoor are honored to do this work for over 16,000 people each year in 7 counties in the Gorge. This brings me to my point today. I and my team members are incredibly afraid for our immigrant community and their children, most of whom are U.S. citizens. The immigration enforcement that has been happening over the past few months, and specifically the past 2 Fridays in the Dalles, has sent shockwaves of fear and anxiety throughout. Whether or not you agree with the enforcement because you believe it's targeted at people with criminal backgrounds is actually not my point today. My point is that with every person who is picked up by masked, unidentified gunmen, they leave family behind, and many times children. These children are then scarred, and remaining adults and their families are too scared to go outside their homes. We know that if you go to the local grocery stores now, you will see more young people shopping for food for their families because they are the only ones who feel safe to do so. We know that a larger percentage of Latino students are missing school because they're afraid to leave their parents home alone, worried if they leave, they may come home to find their parents gone. We know that parents are making plans for whom to leave their children with, including babies and toddlers, if they are taken by ICE. Sometimes they have to ask non-relatives because they don't have anyone else. The stress, anxiety, depression, fear, and isolation are real. I know that you don't have control over federal immigration enforcement activities, but one thing the city could do is show its support for our entire community, even if it's immigrants and the U.S. children of those immigrants. In other communities, cities and municipalities have created signs for businesses and homes to present print and display. Some have also provided funding for organizations to provide support for families after someone has been taken. But mostly it would be nice for the city to make a statement in support of our children.
Janet, you got about 20 seconds.
In this way, the vision of the next door comes closer to reality. And that vision is a supportive community where all children and families are safe, healthy, and valued. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Elda Dorado.
I'm going to speak in Spanish and translator here. I hope we can do it in 3 minutes.
Please use the microphone and identify yourselves and your address.
Mi nombre es Zelda Dorado Valenzuela. Mi dirección es 839 Garden Court here in the Dalles.
New Beacon Terrace, 1315 Laughlin Street here in the Dalles.
My name is Zelda Dorado. Emigré a este país, a esta ciudad hace 34 años. Recibí mi trámite de residencia y finalmente obtuve mi ciudadanía. A lo largo de los años he trabajado en agricultura en Oregon y California, manzana, cereza, durazno, aceituna. También he trabajado en la industria del servicio al cliente en Biggs y en the Dalles. Actualmente trabajo tiempo parcial en agricultura en el cultivo de la cereza y a tiempo completo en educación de kinder hasta quinto.
Hello, my name is Ella Dorado. I immigrated to the Dalles 34 years ago. I received my green card and eventually became a U.S. citizen. Over the years, I've worked in agriculture in Oregon and California with apples, pears, cherries, peaches, and olives. I've also worked in restaurants in Biggs and the Dalles. Currently, I'm working part-time in cherries and full-time in education with grades K through 5.
Con mi experiencia de primera mano pasando por el proceso de migración, trabajando en agricultura y ahora estando involucrada en educación, comprendo profundamente los desafíos que enfrentan aquellos que aún no son ciudadanos. También he notado recientemente de las actividades de ICE en nuestra comunidad han adoptado tácticas nuevas y alarmantes. Incluso con la administración anterior del señor Trump, no vimos este tipo de expulsiones físicas de los negocios y de las calles locales.
With my firsthand experience going through the immigration process, working in agriculture, and now being involved in education, I understand deeply the challenges faced by those who are not yet citizens. I've also recently noticed that ICE activities in our community have taken on new and alarming tactics. Even with the previous Trump administration, we didn't see this kind of physical removal of people from local businesses and streets.
Con este tipo de tácticas ejercidas por parte de ICE, bajo la administración actual, los miembros de la comunidad tienen miedo incluso de salir a la comunidad para fines cotidianos como de rutina diaria. Mis compañeros y yo hemos recibido llamadas de peticiones de los padres de nuestros estudiantes pidiendo que por favor llevemos a los estudiantes a casa al terminar las clases, porque temen en la posible actividad de ICE. Personalmente he llevado a personas a su trabajo porque temen conducir a sí mismas. Incluso he hecho compras en tiendas para familias que tienen demasiado miedo de salir de sus hogares aún teniendo la tarjeta verde o cualquier otro estatus migratorio.
With these kinds of
Excuse me just a second. Could you stop the clock? We're going to allow some additional time because of the translation issue, and there's two of you. So, okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Right. With these kinds of tactics by the current administration, ICE enforcement, people are scared to even go out into the community for everyday purposes. My coworkers and I have been asked by parents of our students to take them home after school because they're afraid of potential ICE activity. I've personally driven people to work because they fear driving themselves. I've even done grocery shopping for families who are too afraid to leave their homes, even if they have green cards or legal status.
Mirando el futuro, si este tipo de actividades de ICE continúa, es posible que la gente ya no viaje a nuestra comunidad para realizar el trabajo migratorio que se realiza año con año, como es el trigo y especialmente la cosecha de la cereza. Esto tendría un impacto muy fuerte y directo en los negocios locales, las escuelas y, por supuesto, en la economía de todos los que vivimos en esta comunidad, incluyendo a los dueños de los ranchos que ya en ellos se está ejerciendo la presión y esto podría ser consecuencia que afectaría y quizás llevaría a varios a la bancarrota.
Looking into the future, if these kinds of ICE activities continue, people might no longer travel here for the migratory work they've done before, like weeding, harvesting, and especially helping with the local cherry crop. This would have a direct impact on our local businesses, schools, and all of us living in this community, including putting more pressure on orchardists and potential leading some to bankruptcy.
Hoy, este día, estoy aquí frente a ustedes hablando de nuestras necesidades, de nuestra la comunidad latina. Estamos enfrentando de los problemas que estamos enfrentando. Les quiero pedir ayuda para que nos guíen en cómo poder encontrar recursos o ayudar a familias que han sido afectadas y tener una idea de qué y cómo podemos apoyar en los futuros redadas. Vendideos.
I'm here today to represent the Latino community and ask you for your help in guiding us for ideas on how to help families affected and all members of the community because of the current environment created by the ICE activity in the Dalles. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Nubia Contreras.
That was me just in
That was you, okay. Sophia Uranda. Did I pronounce that right?
Thank you.
Please give us your address, name and address.
My name is Sophia Urenda. My address is 1603 9th Street. Hello, my name is Sophia, and I am a proud family member of hardworking immigrants. The reason I am here is to tell you that we are scared. Documented or undocumented, we are scared of what is happening in this town and in the United States. I was born in the United States, and whenever I go out, I carry my passport in case I ever come face to face with agents, because I have seen how they racially profile people. I have seen how our peaceful protests have also brought out the worst in our neighbors. They will flip us off, yell hatred, and worse, will hide behind a screen, laughing at the pain of others. I sat in my economics class here in the Dalles and listened to my teacher lie to students saying that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes, which is a lie. In 2022 alone, immigrants, regardless of their status, paid $26.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes, according to the Institute on Taxes and Economical Policy. I know that people who are not willing to hear and learn about opposing opinions are not people that you should waste your time on. But all of you in front of me have showed that you are willing to listen. My question to you is, what are the steps that you are willing to take to ensure that no unlawful arrests happen here in the Dalles? That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, before our next speaker, point out that the city did issue a news release last week with our policy, and it's also on our police department website, just so you know. Okay, next is the first name is Y-A-M-I, and I can't, Yamalet? Murataya? Did I get that? How'd I do? Good?
Murataya.
Okay.
I'll make a.
Let's try, okay.
Hi, my name is Yamile Murataya, and my address is 2425 West 8th Street here in the Dalles. Good evening. I am a family member of the first person who got detained by ICE. It has affected our family greatly. Our mental health is not okay. My little brother is scared to go to school for comments being made. We cannot focus academically. Emotionally, our mental health is not okay. Sorry.
Okay, take your time.
We are scared to go out in public. We're scared of every car that drives by. We're scared that any time they could chase us. We're scared for my mother. She's scared. We're scared. Sorry. Our home feels empty
My father was our provider. He was the provider of our household and he got taken away from us. Shopping to fix electrical circuits that our house was having. I'm shaking. I have an anxiety attack. It's hard to talk about it because we're experiencing it firsthand. Every time I open social media, there's a comment, a hateful comment towards my dad, towards our family. I had to email my professors at OSU that I was going to turn in my assignments late because my dad got detained at Home Depot, where he was a loyal customer. After that happened, they told somebody he was a regular. I understand if they can't step in, okay. But how did they let 3 unmasked agents take my father? Like in a store. They had no warrant. They had no judicial order signed by a judge. They went to where he was and took him away from his 5 children. The youngest being 10 years old was mentally affected. Who's scared to go to school? Because someone will make a comment.
I'd ask you to please wrap it up by now, please. Thank you.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Courtney Middleton. If Courtney wants to speak, we'll reserve a space for her if she's delayed getting here. Okay. Hi, please give us your name and your city where you live.
My name is Courtney Middleton. I live at 508 West 14th Street, and I brought a colleague with me to share my time.
My name is Destin Ramsey, and I live at 1513 East 13th Street.
I was born and raised here in the Dalles. I left the area for a few years to get college and to teach abroad, and I've been back for 10 years, and I'm currently raising my family here.
I have been teaching here for 7 years. My family has been here for the last 40-something years. We are really a key part of this community.
As an educator in the area, I work with students of all ages and backgrounds. I can see the fear on their faces, young children to teenagers, and especially in their parents. What happened last week at Home Depot is something that all of us, whether you're an immigrant or not, whether you believe folks are illegal or not, I don't, should be appalled by. At a store where many families shop, 3 armed and masked individuals forcefully and aggressively pulled a person out who was simply shopping. This happened during a children's event and children witnessed it, causing them undue hardship as well. I have personally witnessed arrests from the Dalles police in the past. In fact, a neighbor of mine was committing a violent act to which I dialed 911 for. And when the neighbor was arrested for this violence, the police officer arrested him with dignity, and other officers stayed behind to check on the victim. This did not happen last weekend at Home Depot. Instead, in my opinion, a man was kidnapped and detained for the crime of existing across the border without the correct paperwork. If local police can arrest a violent person with dignity, then these so-called agents should not be allowed to forcefully detain people at places of business where children's events are taking place. ICE continues to terrorize the Latino community members in our area. Even today, there were several sightings. People stayed home to protect themselves based not on immigration status, but on their skin color or spoken language. And we need help from our city leaders to end this now.
I was there with my daughter at Home Depot when the man was taken. And for me, that was really traumatic. It was traumatic for my daughter. She's 5 years old. She was screaming at me, "Daddy, Daddy, don't get in trouble. Daddy, don't get in trouble." And I had to explain to her why I wasn't going to be the one that was getting in trouble, why I wouldn't get taken away. And that was a really hard conversation to have with a 5-year-old. As an educator and as someone who cares a lot about our children, that's problematic, guys. It's problematic that I had to have that conversation with my daughter at 5 years old. And it's something that I want us to think about as a community. Is this the kind of thing we're wanting in our community where our children are getting scarred for what? I think that that's the question. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Javier, I think it's Torres. Javier? Oh, you're Javier. Okay. You're going to pass. Okay. Rosario Chavez. Maria Pena.
Well, I wasn't prepared, but I want to speak. My name is Maria Pena. My address is 1600 West 10th, and I'm an immigrant. I was brought here by my parents when I was 14. And I'm part of the community, and this is my people. This is me. Anybody that gets taken in my eyes, it's very personal to me. As you know, most of you know me, I am a community health worker, and I work at the health department for the last 32 years. I visit a lot of families. And right now, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know how to help them. I visit this family that has a brand new baby. He's 2 years old. And the mom is scared to death because this little kid has special needs. She has to take him to many appointments. And she has nobody to sign a paper saying in case if she gets detained, who's going to take care of this kid? I'm volunteering to do it. I feel like I have to. And I don't think anybody deserves to feel that way. You, Mayor, came to me when you were trying to get elected. And you said, I'm here for you, for your community. This is when you need to step up. This is when we need you. That's all I have to say.
I believe that is it for signups. Yeah. I thought I had him. He's on the list? I did all those. He's, oh, I'm sorry.
Where that
Jed Lee. Okay, got it. Okay, Jed Lee.
Hi, I'm Jedediah. Jedediah Lee, 6563 7 Mile Hill Road, Dalles, Oregon, 97058. Truly, I say to you, as you did to one of the least of my brethren, you did to me. Matthew 25:40. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Luke 10:27. Let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels and without knowing it. Remember those who are in prison, those who are being tortured, as though you yourself were being tortured. Hebrews 13:1-3. The Lord watches over strangers. He upholds the orphan and the widow, but the way of the wicked he brings to ruin. Psalms 146:9. Thus says the Lord of hosts, render true judgments. Show kindness and mercy to one another. Do not oppress the widow, the orphan, the alien, or the poor, and do not devise evil in your hearts against one another. Zechariah 7:9-10. Cursed is anyone who withholds justice from the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow. Then all the people say, Amen. Deuteronomy 27:19. And if I have 30 seconds left to say, I'd like to say that diversity makes America great, and whites are not superior. Thank you.
Okay, the last person on the list is Omar Perez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Omar Perez. My address is 4731 Chenoweth Road. Mayor and council members, thank you for your attention to this urgent matter. I am here on behalf of families within our community who are experiencing significant hardship and uncertainty considering recent ICE activity in our city. These actions have resulted in the sudden separation of fathers, brothers, and neighbors, leaving families to face fear, confusion, and a profound sense of abandonment. The absence of outreach, resources, or acknowledgement from city officials has only deepened their distress and contributed to a sense of isolation. This silence not only affects these families directly, but also undermines the trust and safety of our entire community. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. powerfully stated, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This moment calls for compassion, leadership, and a commitment to the values that bind our community together. It is important to recognize that the Dalles, like many other places across the United States, has been built and sustained with the help of immigrants and minority groups. This is especially true in agricultural regions such as ours, where the contributions of these communities have been essential to our growth and prosperity. It is also important to clarify that this request does not seek interference with federal operations. Rather, it calls upon the city to fulfill its responsibilities to long-standing residents who are integral to the fabric of the Dalles. These families deserve to know that their city recognizes their hardship, values their presence, and stands prepared to support them in their time of need. Furthermore, we wish to foster a constructive and ongoing relationship between the City Council and the Latino community. We believe that open dialogue and collaboration will strengthen our cities and ensure that all residents feel seen, heard, and supported. Accordingly, I respectfully urge the following actions. 1. Issue a public acknowledgement that these incidents are occurring and commit to a coordinated city response. 2. Convene a meeting between city leaderships, community organizations, and service providers to establish clear procedures and points of contact for their families affected by these attentions. 3. Develop a comprehensive response plan that includes emergency protocols for minors, coordinated communication strategies, resource guidance, and explicit expectations for trauma-informed conduct by responding officers. Our community relies on principle, leadership, and transparent communication, especially in time of crisis. I urge you to act promptly to support our neighbors and to reinforce trust in our city's institutions. Thank you for your consideration.
We've also received a couple of letters, a couple that our city manager is now going to read. Two letters, right?
Well, we had one read to us. You want me to read this one in full?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Dear Mayor Mays and members of the Dalles City Council, I am writing to urgently request that the City Council issue a proclamation affirming that the Dalles is an inclusive and welcoming community for all residents, regardless of immigration status. This is not symbolic work. It is necessary and immediate. It is a necessary and immediate step to protect the emotional safety, stability, and well-being of hundreds of families who call the Dalles home. Earlier this year, the City of Hood River reaffirmed its commitment to inclusion through Resolution 2025-06, a resolution affirming the City of Hood River as an inclusive and welcoming city. Their actions have provided reassurance and stability to families living with fear and uncertainty. The Dalles is ready for a similar statement of leadership and courage. Our city has already taken bold steps towards making our city a welcoming place for all. In 2019, the Dalles began its journey toward becoming a trauma-informed community. This distinction matters. It means we are committed to creating a systems that reduce harm, build trust, and promote healing. Yet the recent presence of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in our community has caused significant trauma that stands in direct conflict with the values we are working to uphold. The impact on students and families have been immediate and profound. At the end of every school day, we have extra adults present at dismissal due to concerns that a parent or student may be apprehended. Students fear that a parent might not be there when they return from school, resulting in high anxiety, difficulty learning, and emotional shutdown. Families are avoiding public spaces, appointments, and school meetings because they are terrified of being targeted or seen. Parents are suddenly detained, leaving children without stability or basic caregiving, and forcing schools to respond to crises with little warning. Students who have internalized fear so deeply that it affects their attendance, academic performance, and sense of safety in the classroom. These are not hypothetical concerns. They are real daily experiences for the children and families we serve. The city has an opportunity and the responsibility to declare clearly that the Dalles stands with all of its residents. A proclamation would not change legal policy, nor would it interfere with federal operations. What it would do is send an unequivocal message that our community chooses compassion, safety, and unity over fear and division. It would reinforce our commitment to trauma-informed practice and demonstrate that we are aligned in our efforts to protect our most vulnerable neighbors. At a moment when many families are living in fear, silence can easily be misinterpreted as indifference or agreement with current national policies. Now is the time for visible leadership. I urge the council to adopt a proclamation affirming the Dalles as an inclusive and welcoming community. I would be happy to provide language, speak at a meeting, or share additional information about how ICE activity is affecting the students and families in our schools. Thank you for your leadership and your willingness to confront the pressing challenges facing our community. Sincerely, AJ Rundell.
Just for the record, Mr. City Manager, who is AJ Rundell?
He didn't identify himself in that way in the letter, but correct.
We understand he's the principal at Chenoweth Grade School, right?
Chenoweth Elementary School.
Elementary School. Okay. Thank you. if it's okay with the rest of the city council, is it brief and not repetitive? Come up.
My name is my name is Gabriela Pacheco Rosales. I'm at 3253 Odell Highway in Hood River. And I just wanted to say something. It comes down to, for me, it comes down to human beings. We're all here, human beings, and we're affected by this, very much so, in a very real way. And what I believe that what I'm asking of you and of you is to consider acknowledging a group of human beings as part of the community. And this part of the community needs your help, needs you to respond differently than you have responded maybe to this incident. And I just believe that that is why I'm here. A different response to a human situation. Thank you.
Thank you. What's fair to say, I think that we certainly have heard from all of you, and we got the message. I will say too that there are two speakers that actually offered concrete, shall I say, suggestions or recommendations for the city council to act. One was Mr. Perez, and one was the letter that was written by AJ Rondell. Mr. Perez, I would ask that if you have your statement in writing, I would ask that you give that to the city clerk. Oh, there he is. He did? Okay, great. And we have the other one in writing. Does anybody on the city council have anything they'd like to say? Councilor Richardson.
Thank you. I'm just, bear with me a moment. I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to be succinct as you were. First of all, thanks for being here. It's, it can be nerve-wracking, or it's not easy. I know for a lot of folks to get up and speak, or even to make time in their evening. So thank you for doing that. I recognize that and I appreciate it. And I would say, heard. I hear your concerns, hear your fears, and hear your thoughts. And not to speak for anyone else, but speaking for myself, I take it seriously. I'm a little bit frustrated in that there's not an obvious solution that the city can just create. There might be an appropriate response, and that's something I think we ought to be mindful of and maybe talk about a bit, but we're not going to necessarily solve anything. I will say, just for additional context, I called our school superintendent, Dr. Bernal, today just to sort of see if they've actually seen any impacts at school. Is this a real thing, or is it just a passing few people? She said year to year, this fall over last fall, they've seen a 10% spike in, there's a technical term, but basically erratic attendance. Latino kids are scared to show up. Short and sweet. It's 10% of the population, which is something in the order of 250 kids. These are our kids. And I take that pretty serious. As you know, my wife spent a few years on school board, 6 years. We've invested time and energy and hope into our schools. So when I hear that kind of number, it really makes me sort of sit up and take notice. I know that I don't speak for everybody else in my community, or maybe not everybody else up here, but to my mind, the current ICE immigration enforcement is not a political issue. It's a real world, on the ground, really affecting our neighbors issue. It really affects real people, and a lot of them. I know some folks hearing this, reading this, or perhaps up here will say, Well, yes, but we're talking about illegal aliens or illegal people. And I guess my immediate response to that is, this is a paperwork issue. It's not a crime. And even for people who transgress the law, we insist that the police follow process, that they're uniformed, that they treat people with dignity to the best that we can insist on that, which is not happening. And I'm not okay with it. I don't have power to fix it, but I'm not okay with how we have seen just in less than a year immigration go from being something we need to talk about as a political issue to essentially having goon squads out there snatching people. And I'm not all right with it. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's the best of America. And I don't think that we can just turn away from it. I'm not sure what we do about it, but I'm not okay with that. And I know that some of us, even some of us up here, perhaps have had friends or acquaintances or folks they know who have perhaps broken a law. I know I have an acquaintance or two that have done that. They went through a process. They were not snatched. They were not thrown in a cage out of contact with their family. They were not disappeared. They were dealt with. They went through a process, adjudicated, did their time. And that's the way it should be. I will also say it's hard to get outside, I think for most of us anyway, to get outside our sort of little social circle. I don't have a lot of Hispanic friends. I really appreciate you bringing the issue to us and making us really aware in a sort of face-to-face way. Appreciate that. I'm not done yet, but getting there.
They weren't clapping so that you'd wrap it up?
Perhaps you were. I will wrap it up. Just another point of context. It's easy for us, perhaps, or for some of us to forget that our Latino neighbors are a quarter or a fifth the population. There's a lot of neighbors. And there's a lot of small towns in our country that are dying towns. Small towns are under a lot of stress and they get hollowed out and they lose population. If it weren't for our Latino neighbors, the Dalles would be a dying town and not a growing and prosperous town. That's not politics. That's just fact. And I was going to say I'm not usually in favor of proclamations or statements of that sort. I don't think I've ever asked for anything like that in the 5 years I've served on council. But this situation is not an ordinary situation. And I think it behooves us to take Principal Rundell's request very seriously and also Mr. Perez's request. So I would like to do that. I would like to, I'm not sure the proper way to do that. We don't have a proclamation before us, but I think it behooves us to seriously consider making a statement that even if it's just reinforcing some of the press release that we've put out, but making it clear to as many people in our town as possible that we hear them, we're on their side. It's not sort of run-of-the-mill business for us, so it's not like we can just solve it, but we need to be thinking about how to address it. No, thank you. That's what I have to say. I don't know if it needs a motion. It certainly needs some discussion. Thanks for hearing me out.
Does anybody else on the city council have anything they'd like to say? No. Well, we do have some suggestions that have been brought before the city council. I think that at this point, the city council can think about it. There's a lot to absorb in one night. They can either indicate that they're not interested in doing anything, or they can perhaps, and I'd like to hear from the city manager about having the staff come up with some ideas on how the city council can address some of the concerns or some of the issues that have been raised tonight. Mr. Cleaves?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been in contact with other city managers from across Oregon who are all wrestling with some of these same challenges and dynamics and trying to figure out the best ways they can take action to support the community or show solidarity with the community. I've spoken to some city managers as recently over the weekend, and I can compile some of the different resources and some of the different examples of what other cities have done or what other cities are discussing or exploring, and share that information with council and see if there is any consensus, direction, or interest in bringing that back in one manner or another, if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the other members of the council as to what the city manager suggested.
Well, I would find that helpful. Yes, please.
Council Ring?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it would be beneficial to the community to have some resources. It sounded, one of the things that I noted was that, oh yeah, sorry. One of the things that I noted tonight was the need for specific resources for say when, somebody has a child at home or something like that to take care of, right? I think that would be good to point out the resources that would be applicable to that.
Okay, anybody else?
Be in favor of that, especially taking care of the children in the aftermath.
Let's not get into that one, though.
Pardon me? Let me turn on. I had my mic off. Mr. Perez's recommendations, I consider those and I'm seriously looking at those. They were valid. I think that's about what I have to say on that.
I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we got a copy of that statement. So,
Mr. Perez?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to review that.
Mhm.
I need a chance to reflect. And I'd like something written. If we're going to do any kind of proposal, I'd like it written before, and so I can look at it concrete wise.
Okay, anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, one comment that I have in thinking about and preparing for tonight, and I think one thing that is critical and a takeaway for me this evening is, and part of that first step to hearing our community is acknowledging that these ICE enforcement activities are happening on our community, obviously, and that these actions are having real impacts. They cause fear and uncertainty, and this fear and uncertainty is affecting individuals, families, and our own city staff even, as shown by everybody here this evening. These impacts and feelings that are being shared with us tonight may be difficult to discuss, but in light of what we're talking about, it's important that we bring these issues forward into the light and do what we can to answer questions that our community has, provide clear communication on the resources that are available from many of our community partners and from the city itself, and that we remain open to hear from our community itself. All of our lived experience is all different, and listening to different perspectives with empathy and understanding, the idea or the hope there is that we will find ways to support one another and navigate the situation as best we can. Compiling resources and connecting people to those resources is a lot of what a city does in a lot of different ways. And I think that's a good idea, a good place to start. But I think there's a lot of different options out there to consider. And again, being open to the dialogue is that critical first step.
Does anybody on the council have any objection to the staff putting something together for future consideration?
No, I don't have any problem.
No, good.
Okay. One of my concerns, I think, is the fact that we have a lot going on right now. This is an important issue, but I think it'd be a lot to ask the staff to come back with something by our next council meeting, which is in 2 weeks on December 22nd. Did you have any comment on that?
My biggest concern there is that the packet needs to be assembled, and we typically send it out by this Friday, which is a tight turnaround time that we often bump up against. We meet tomorrow to talk about and finalize what's on that agenda for December 22nd. The next council meeting after that, which may give us a bit more time to do the work needed to connect with individuals and pull some of these resources together, I think would be January 5th.
Okay, I think we can look at that as a reasonable target date to come back with some ideas. Is that okay with the city council?
I would say we don't want to put it any farther out than that. I take your point. We're busy. Nobody asked for this to be imposed on staff, but it is what it is, and we need to get into gear. We are.
Okay,
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Yep.
So you asked if it's okay. I'm saying for my part,
yeah,
it's okay, and sooner the better. Yeah.
Okay. I think we can look for something on January 5th. Anybody else have any last thoughts before we take a break? No? Anybody? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and reconvene at 6:35. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Still locked. I didn't get.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You have to use that cup.
I can grab the doors.
7 is the city manager's report, and he will give that as soon as he's back in the room.
At the end of his report, I'll pass it to
The end of his report, yeah, okay.
Good beer. Nothing else. Escalator.
You're up, kid.
My turn. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Several different items for you this evening. One of the ones is I just wanted to let the council know that I attended several of the muster meetings out at different divisions out at Public Works, and I'll be bringing Brita on a tour of our Wicks water treatment plant soon. And I just wanted to take a moment to extend my appreciation for the work done by our employees out at the Public Works Department and what they do to maintain our critical infrastructure and responding to community needs and preparing for the winter. And most notably, for example, on Sunday, we had a water line breakdown at the railroad crossing on Union. Amy worked with some of the Public Works staff to put a good post on Facebook with some photos and video of our crews out there responding to that water line break and getting a little wet in the process there. And so just want to make sure we acknowledge that hard work that they do and the response that they provide 24/7. I appeared on KODL last week, the talk show out at Cousins. And I wanted to thank the council for their support in allocating resources during our last council meeting to support the IT department and the HR department. We have 2 project managers who will be starting next week to help with some of our critical needs in IT. These 2 contract positions will be very helpful in supporting those critical services across the entire city. I attended the Regional Solutions Coordinator meeting and instead of the mayor last week and had a brief 45 minutes or so with Governor Tina Kotek. The city attorney and I will be meeting with representatives from Chenoweth PUD to discuss the city's proposed franchise agreement later this Friday. Just a brief reminder that the city's holiday party is this coming Wednesday from 3 to 4:30. And then the last item here is to turn it over to the city attorney, who's going to give us a brief update on the Portland Harbor waste cleanup and some response that we got.
Thank you, Matthew. Mayor Mays, City Council. Just before this meeting, I sent out copies of a letter that I had sent on behalf of the city in late October to EPA Region 10, connected with the Portland Harbor remedial waste and the Wasco County landfill. And just a few days ago, the EPA's Superfund director responded to the letter, and we had met with them a few weeks back, and this was sort of their written response. And so copies of both letters were attached to an email that I sent to the council with a summary just before this meeting started, and I'll trust the city clerk to include a copy of those letters in the minutes for tonight's meeting. And just a quick rundown of some of those ideas that were brought up. The letter formally confirmed that Wasco County landfill is one of 4 regional solid waste landfills under evaluation for Portland Harbor sediments, and that any material sent there would be non-hazardous, as the city manager indicated in, I believe it was the last meeting. And so the only difference here is this is now in the administrative record of decision for the EPA, and it's not just a verbal conversation that we had. Their letter also confirmed that the city has been provided the Wasco County landfill's prior offsite rule acceptability determination from the early 2000s, and effectively that EPA will be conducting compliance checks before any future shipments are authorized. The EPA has also directed us to certain Portland Harbor information channels, giving the city access to participate in a meaningful way, including on the project's listserv, on an online tool that's tied to this draft community impact mitigation plan that they've given us an advance copy of, to give us a concrete way to track design decisions on that project and submit input as that plan is revived. And the letter effectively reiterates the EPA's view that certain detailed transport and disposal decisions, including the final landfill selection and specific hauling routes, are still in what they call to be remedial design. It's one of a small handful of phases. And the bottom line is they haven't committed to this being final yet. And they've offered us a tremendous amount of opportunities to weigh in, I think, in a timely way. And so in essence, now staff is reviewing these previous determinations from the early 2000s and the draft community impacts mitigation plan that we just received. And I'm confident we will definitely have a chance to return to council with recommended local protections as needed as we get closer and closer.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're very welcome.
Any questions for city attorney or the city manager?
Mr. Mayor.
Council Ring.
Thank you. I just would love to be kept apprised of the nature of the non-hazardous material that they said that they would be putting in here. I'd be very curious to know how they're assessing that and testing for and things like. I mean, these are things I'm sure that have already on the forefront of your mind, but I want to make sure that we're putting it out there that these are the things that, I mean, I'm especially concerned about things like long-term impacts to groundwater supply, stuff like that, because these things don't hit us in 20 years, they hit us in 50 or 60. So these are the kind of the things I'm thinking of when I hear this.
Okay. Okay, we'll go with city council reports. We'll start on my left with Council Runyon.
Not a whole lot. Several ongoing citizen conversations. Grocery stores seem to be where I run into people all the time, and had a number of conversations. One of those included the airport, and I've cleared up some information on some of the points that were being brought up to me. I appreciate that. I also spoke briefly with Councilor McLaughlin, who sits on the airport board, about a few of those issues. Spoke with the city manager today, not just on the phone call you all got, but I happened to be in the building, so I bent his ear for about a half an hour on not only this meeting, but on several other things regarding the issues at the airport and so forth, which I'm happy to say that were not at all as they were presented to me. So that was good. Very pleased. I was gone on vacation, so that's why I really haven't been a whole lot involved, but I got back in time for the near completion of 6th Street. I know there's a little more yet to do, but it's really looking good out there, and very much appreciated all the work that's gone into that and time. And we were informed a little bit earlier today that there's still some little things that need to be worked at, whatnot, but I'm rest assured that they're going to be taken care of and handled in an expeditious way. So good job. Councilor Richardson.
Thank you. Just a few things briefly. I had a meeting and conversation with EDO Jake Anderson about urban renewals, and thinking about that, urban renewal has a fairly good bucket of money, a fairly healthy amount of money, I should say, over the next several years. And we need to be mindful about how we could allocate that. And that'll be an ongoing conversation over the next couple of months. We'll come up with a few general budgetary or budget outlines and share those and move those forward. After the board discussion, had a meeting to discuss various matters with City Attorney Kara. This morning, I attended the Columbia Cascade Housing Board. That entity is very active. It's moving the Mariposa Village, which is more than 100 units in Hood River. That's under construction as we speak, and it's moving forward on plans, as we probably remember, for the Chenoweth Apartments. I'm not sure if has a formal name yet. I attended a community meeting of much the same concerns that we just heard on Saturday, and on Wednesday I plan to attend by Zoom a community meeting regarding the Portland Harbor cleanup, and I guess that would be more of citizen level conversation, but I will at least zoom in to hear what's going on there. That's what
Thank
I
you.
have. Yep.
Council Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On November 28th, I stood in for you at the Starlight Parade and gave selected the winner of the Mayor's Award. And if anyone watched that parade, they probably saw the float that I picked and would probably agree. It was pretty outstanding. Belonged to a company called Case Day Trucking. Very outstanding float. December 2nd, I attended a meeting of the local public safety coordinating committee. And then on December 4th, I attended by Zoom the community affairs, the Chamber's community affairs forum, where we saw a presentation by Jeff Renard of the Columbia Gorge Regional Airport. That's my report.
Thank you. Council Ring.
Thank you, Mayor. I was on vacation quite a bit, and we didn't have a urban renewal meeting just before the holiday. But I did talk. I also spoke with our EDO, Jacob Anderson, about some of the upcoming work with urban renewal and whatnot. And it does sound like there is actually some movement of monies and things. Something that's on the agenda tonight with First Street. Is one of those things that came in under bid. So that's pretty exciting. That's all I got.
Councilor McLaughlin.
As president of the Dalles City Council, I was asked by Mayor Mays to cover for him for the Starlight Parade. I was a participant in the parade with the Lions Club. Therefore, I asked my fellow councilman to stand in for me, and we could have a dispute about which is the best float. However, I did participate. Airport meeting, everything seems to be moving along quite nicely as far as development of new hangars, as far as a lot of the new development around the airport. So that's about it for this report.
Okay, thank you. Item 9 is the consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the City Council to spend its time and energy on the more important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action items section. Tonight, we have 4 items on the consent agenda. Number 1, approval of the November 24th City Council meeting minutes. 2 is award of the contract for the construction of the First Street streetscape project. Exciting time there. 3 is a resolution concurring with my appointment of Andrea Knight to the city's budget committee. And finally, a resolution assessing real property located on West 9th Street for the cost of nuisance abatement. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Ring and seconded by Councilor Randall to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
I just have a quick question. Is the person that owns the real property on 2113 West 9th here tonight? All right. I just want to always offer the opportunity to, if there's some circumstance that we are not aware of before we pass this, that's why I do that. Right? I'm okay with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. I appreciate you doing that, keeping us honest.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10A is an ordinance amending our municipal code regarding dog control. Mr. Klebs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Looking towards page 34 of your packet, there's a joint staff report by Jonathan and myself here. Wanted to begin this evening. We've talked about this a couple times and just want to give a brief recap on kind of how we got here today. First and foremost, reviewing and updating our animal control ordinances, both the livestock work that we did and the dog ordinance here this evening, were identified in the City Council goals and action plan that we adopted earlier this year under our livability goal, action 1.7. And so that really set the stage for what staff brought forward on April 14th, 2025, to discuss really 5 substantive items that we had identified and wanting some direction from council. Those included implementing a leash law, capping the number of dogs allowed on a property, the dog licensing program itself, impoundment, and when a dog might become a public nuisance. You provided us some direction during that meeting, and we brought back the first full draft general ordinance on October 28th, where we stayed long into the night and had a very lengthy discussion about some of the provisions of that ordinance. You provided some direction, which we have incorporated into the red lines included in your packet here, clarifying how non-conforming dogs will be handled and when an owner must declare them, better aligning license terms and rabies vaccination timing, and simplifying and narrowing the role in addressing some of the concerns of the veterinary clinics that are here within the city limits. And so again, the 3 key changes at a very high level was number 1, the scope relative to kennels and the city's land use and development regulations. And so we got some constituent questions around the definition of kennels and when that threshold is met, and does it apply in a residential zone versus an industrial zone or central business commercial. And so to be clear, in this ordinance that we're considering tonight, the policy remains unchanged. In a single family dwelling, you can have up to 4 adult dogs. Duplexes, multifamily, or other residential dwellings can have up to 2 adult dogs, and you can keep 1 adult female dog for breeding purposes in any dwelling. Animals that are under 6 months old, such as puppies and whatnot, don't count until they reach that limit. And we've really drawn that line and separated this ordinance from land use regulation and how kennels or breeding kennels are administered and defined. So that's kept separate from this in the Dalles Municipal Code Title 10, again, our land use and development there. The second item here was aligning the license term with rabies inoculation. And this is where we were really able to get some streamlining with the different vet offices. We will be allowing multi-year licenses that align with those rabies vaccines. So you can get a 1-year license, a 2-year license, or a 3-year license. Typically, what we've seen or what we're told people typically follow is a 1-year or a 3-year rabies certificate. And so having the license align with that seems to make a lot of sense. There's also some state law that prevents a city license, for example, from being valid 2 months beyond when a rabies vaccine expires. So there's already a connection here. There's already a trigger point. I always look to my left and I forget to look to my right too. Apologies. There's already a connection between a city license and the rabies certificate administered by the Oregon Health Authority. The third item here, again, related to what I just mentioned ago, dealt with the veterinary medical facilities. We had a requirement that the vets would report to the city at a monthly basis. We've changed that to quarterly. We've maintained the ability of a vet facility to opt in to licensing and processing those payments to support our local shelter here. And if a facility or a vet is interested in licensing animals or dogs at their facility, they'd be eligible to participate in city-funded programs, such as our successful spay and neuter program. The vets, of course, can keep an administrative fee for the work that they do in processing that license. But again, a lot of the intent behind here is that this program is not a revenue generator for the city, but is a way to support our local animal shelter here in our community. As we talked about quite a bit in October, local vets raised concern about the workload required and the privacy of client lists created by these now quarterly reports. And so we've revised the requirements that the report really focuses on the rabies vaccine certificate and the information, again, that they already collect as required by the state. We really be focusing on those rabies vaccine certificates that have a mailing address here in the Dalles. And in terms of the authority that allows us to do that, again, on page 4 of the staff report and page 3 as well, there are some very specific ORSs and OIRs that detail that authority. Most notably, the last one in the list here is OAR 333-019-0019, Section 4, which authorizes the local animal control agency, in this case, the city of the Dalles, to request and file any RVC cross-reference to a tag number or a license number. And so by making these changes, we've reduced the potential burden on our vet clinics and providing this information and are aligning it with an existing system that they've been using for years. In preparing for this, I did some additional outreach, most notably to Dr. Cynthia Lindsay, and kind of walking through these different elements here. She gave me a great tour of her facility. She wishes she could be here tonight, but she has some family obligations, and they were agreeable to this structure and setup. So again, kind of a summary here. There's no new reports. There's no monthly deliverables, and we've added some additional language in the ordinance to enhance the privacy of the information that we collect and how we can use it, and clarifies the strict confidentiality related to the information that we collect. Now, also included in this staff report this evening, there's some interest from council on the license fees themselves. Tonight, we're not setting a license fee. That will be part of what's typically our annual fee update that we do in January. But we've included a substantial amount of information here about the fees that other communities charge to give you a sense of what we might be looking at, again, on a multi-year or an annual fee. But we'll bring this information back to council again to support your consideration of fee adoption by resolution in January. Likewise, and included, I believe, on your dais, staff has been pulling together some additional information to support some of the, or to answer some of the questions that you've been asking us, notably around public awareness. You know, if the ordinance is adopted this evening, it would take effect on January 7th. Non-conforming dog declarations would be due by March 1st, and then the licensing requirement would begin in July 1st of 2026. We'd be pushing out bilingual materials and information such as the trifold that Amy and I believe some of our animal control office had put together to let people know, you know, why does this exist? What is its intent? What's its purpose? What's required? And what some of those critical timelines may look like. The non-conforming dog declaration, again, just for clarity, is around, you know, if you currently have 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs, you can continue to keep your dogs. If you declare them as non-conforming, you simply can't replace 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs. Eventually, you will need to get to the 4 limit or under, or other applicable limit, depending on the residence that you reside in. From a budget implication standpoint, I've spoken to this a little bit. You know, the city has a requirement to license dogs on the books already. This already exists. And much of the frustration I've actually heard from different constituents has been around, yes, I know this exists, but there's no way to actually get your dog licensed. There's not an effective system. I've gone to my vet, I've gone to the Humane Society or Home at Last, and or I got my dog licensed 10 years ago and no one's talked to me about renewing. And so the hope here again is that by passing this ordinance, we will have a effective structure to administer an animal control program and a licensing program. And there will be some efficiencies gained in a number of different ways. There will be additional work, but there'll be some efficiencies as well. Again, the example we've talked about numerous times is, you know, an animal that's at large. Our animal control officer picks up the animal. He doesn't know whose animal this is. He brings it down to the shelter, which is already overcrowded. There may or may not be a kennel available, and hours or days can be spent kind of in this process. But if the animal control officer comes across a dog at large and they have a tag, they can return that animal to that owner directly. And if this happens to be the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time in this given month that this animal has gotten out of their enclosure, you know, some education and eventual enforcement can follow. Again, the revenue from the license fees predominantly are intended to go to the shelter that we have here in town. Obviously, currently, the Columbia Gorge Humane Society. But the actual amount will be dependent on the council decision in January as to what those fees actually may be. What I can say, and reaching out to the Humane Society, is that they are on a shoestring budget and any additional resources will be critical to their continued operation. Currently, the city of the Dalles has a contract with the Humane Society for 4 standing kennels for the services that we need. We provide approximately $50,000 a year for the spay and neuter program, which is a substantial amount of money, but it is a very expensive operation to run. And I know that Brianna is on the line as well this evening. I don't know if she has any additional comments or wants to answer any questions that the city council has, but she is available once I'm finished my staff report. Well, I guess with that, my recommendation is to move to adopt General Ordinance number 25-1421 by title only as presented. The city attorney and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have on tonight's discussion. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the city council to limit your initially just questions of the staff, and then I'd like to open it up to the public to see if there's anyone from the public that is here tonight would like to address the city council. Before I do that, though, I'd like to call on, you want to introduce Brianna? And yeah, you said Brianna, but I don't think you mentioned who Brianna is.
Oh, my apologies. So Brianna is on the board of the Columbia Gorge Humane Society. Sunny Simon is also heavily involved in this, but she is actually on the East Coast right now and unavailable to Zoom in. Brianna, if you have any comments you'd like to make now or simply be available for council questions, I'll take the mayor's prerogative and say the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is Brianna Wimber, founding board member of Columbia Gorge Humane Society. And just want to take this moment to thank City Council, Mayor, and City of the Dalles staff for the hard work done on this. Our shelter is operating at max capacity, and we are very hopeful that with the ability to have people participate in an accessible program to license their dogs, that it will limit the number of dogs that actually come into our shelter, which of course is what we would prefer, dogs home at night with their owners rather than spending a night or two in the shelter. So we thank you for that hard work, and we look forward to working through the future kinks that will inevitably come out of starting this process, but I believe it's all moving in a positive direction, and thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your service and your volunteering at the Humane Society Animal Shelter. Questions of the council for the staff? Any questions? Councilor Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the chart for the fees, you have altered and unaltered. What does that mean? What does that indicate?
Altered would mean spayed and neutered. Unaltered would mean not spayed or not neutered.
Also, do you think these are all, they look like fairly nominal fees. Do you think they're also just kind of there to help support the animal control or the efforts of the local shelter, or?
Yeah, I think they add up. I think they add up. Yeah, you're right, Councilor Randall. I think, most of these are county fees. Historically in Oregon, counties have sort of, that's been their show. A number of these fees are actually out of compliance with state law by being too low. So that might be what you're seeing. I tried my best to mark those with an asterisk. After speaking to some of the attorneys that represent some of these jurisdictions, as I've given them a sort of a courtesy, it's like, hey, I did some research. It looks like your fees may be a little bit out of compliance. They were very appreciative of that, and will be changing some of the changing their fees with their annual fee schedule update. And again, some of the policy behind that is that the state really wants dog control programs to be self-sufficient as much as possible. So there's a big push there from the state of Oregon as a policy. And I think that there's reduced fees for certain groups. Just looking at the list that we could put together, seniors, low income people generally, veterans, people with disabilities, and so there's opportunities there. I think in recognition of the fact that you have a dog for, let's say, 15 years, and 15 times 50 or whatever, and that's per dog in a population of the size of a county or a large city. It adds up well enough usually to support the needs of the community's shelter. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Jonathan, the minimum license fee required by the state for an unaltered dog is $25.
That's right, $25 for unaltered dogs, and $3 is the minimum for altered dogs. Again, sort of suggesting a tremendous a state policy there for getting dogs altered.
Councilor McLaughlin.
That will be taken up at a different session with the licensing fee, correct?
The fee will, yeah, correct. We'll be looking to our resolution when we bringing a resolution back to council for our overall fee schedule, typically at the tail end of January.
My own concern is that we cover costs and not produce new revenue or taxes.
Certainly.
So, right?
Absolutely.
All right. We just want to make that public. What kind of buy-in? You talked about one vet, but what about the other vets that are operational? What kind of buy-in do you have from them as well?
Yeah, so I've conducted some outreach, and throughout this progress, we had a couple different meetings that we invited all the vets to. I called all of the vets last Friday to let them know of this meeting here this evening. To be frank, Dr. Cynthia Lindsay has been the most engaged and willing to kind of sit down with me and go through it kind of line by line, bit by bit. Like I mentioned, giving me a tour of the facility, and I believe she's been to all of our different meetings held over the course of this year.
How many vets do we have in town?
There are 3 vets in town.
Got it. Well, one more. The last time we had a concern about privacy on releasing information to the city, and we have closed that gap with the vets.
Well, so we've aligned it with the rabies vaccine certificate information that they are already required to collect by the state, and under state law, we have the authority to request it. We've been communicative about that dynamic with the vets, and the red lines that you see here, and I think in particular, I think it's page 47 of your packet. There's a reference, additional red lines referencing, the confidential customer list, talking about the use of the data and keeping it confidential to the extent that we can under our public records law.
So we have bridged that gap because that was one of the major concerns from the previous was the release of information.
Yeah.
So we've closed that gap, right?
Yes.
All right, good. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, just a little bit of the same, I suppose, but in maybe a different way. One, I was concerned about the veterinarians and making this an easy process for them, so they're not spending an undue amount of time with staff and whatnot in their locations, so making that as easy as possible for them. And thank you, City Manager, for talking to me about that this morning. I appreciate that. Also, the ease of compliance for citizens. I think if we're going to put out, public information for looks like a few months here or more, because July 1 will be the actual licensing date, that we should always make sure in that any material we put out that dog licensing has been on the books for a number of years, but it's never been acted upon. It's not something brand new. We're just trying to update it and get it going to comply with law. And I think that's important for the citizenry to see that. The ease of compliance, not necessarily for me, but everybody's younger than me, right? So online, whatever it takes to make this an easy process for our citizens who want to do the right thing. And if they need help with online situations, whatever, that there's an office dedicated to, I don't know where it's going to be, that they come in to pay the fee and get some help, but that needs to be clear and out there for the public.
Well, and I think that's one of the key intents here in aligning things with your rabies certificate. Like, again, I have 2 dogs, and when I bring them in to renew their rabies certificate and get inoculated, I'll renew my license at the same time. It's a kind of one-stop shop kind of intent here to make it as easy as possible, with different options for people to get licenses if they don't choose to take their dog to a vet. We certainly won't capture all the dogs that need to be licensed through the vet offices, but it's that natural nexus point where we can tackle a lot of them. And hopefully, and then the intent beyond that is through education and enforcement with our full-time animal control officer to be out monitoring and to provide that information and spread that awareness.
So you as a pet owner, when you take your animal in to get the rabies, do you pay the fee then to the vet and the vet forwards that to the city?
For a participating vet, correct. So again, the approach we've taken is not to require the vets to license dogs without that option. They can choose to participate, which most of them have expressed a willingness to at least consider, if not outright participate. And some of the conversations I had with Dr. Lindsay was about some of those particulars. Is it a single transaction that they then separate internally, report to the city, and then provide those funds to the Humane Society? Or is it two transactions? It's a little bit of the administrative piece here to work with the vets to figure out a system that best works for how they're set up and how they do business. And so those are some of the details we'll move forward with and figure out if the council passes the ordinance this evening.
Therefore, we will have a web page and then an ability to like use a credit card, and like you're buying something off from the internet, and it makes it easy to get that. Is there a license that comes in the mail that goes on the dog, or?
Yeah, so what we've talked about again with the vets is that the city would purchase, let's say, 3,000 tags for the dog program.
Okay.
And we could distribute those tags to the vets. They would issue them at that appointment and provide the information to us, and we'd have that information available in our database. Another option is that a dog owner could go to the Humane Society, and conceivably they could come to the city itself as well, although that may not make sense if you're already going into a vet to get treatment for your dog already. Some of the support that the council's provided, in particular for IT, is helpful in this area. We have a number of different payments across the spectrum for the city that we could improve customer service in terms of online payments and portals and submitting documents and a whole spectrum of things that we would like to get to as quick as we conceivably can.
You can tell I'm not a dog owner, but my question is, when you get a chip inserted in your animal that has your information, is that done at the vets, of course? Is there any other capability of a person needs to take it into their vet to get that chip implanted, right?
Yeah, so a chip is something that we've talked about a couple times, and our animal control officer does have a chip reader.
Yeah,
But I think one of the important things in actually having a visible license is to be able to see at a glance, just like a rabies certificate, that a vet has the license and has that inoculation. And so the way we've structured the ordinance here this evening is that it is a physical tag that is required, not a microchip.
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate Councilor McLaughlin jumping in there, but I wasn't quite done. But thank you very much. Those were good questions. Those are good. Jonathan, our city attorney, brought up one thing about there's a state minimum
Yes.
of $25. That's the lowest it could be.
Yes. For unaltered dogs.
And if a veterans or senior discount or whatever was put on there, can it go below 25?
Not for an unaltered dog. If the dog has been fixed or spayed or neutered, it can go down as low as $3.
It can go below 25 then.
$3 if the
Down
dog
to
has
three.
been fixed.
An altered dog.
Altered.
Dog still has their sexual reproductive organs. You can't go below 25 no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
I was hoping we were going to have a lower base to begin with. So, okay. Well,
Just a quick comment. I think there's a balance there between being mindful of the burden placed on an animal owner and supporting the shelter that we have here, and having a higher fee along with certain discounts, if you will, for a senior or military veteran or a seeing eye dog, gives us some of that flexibility while maintaining support for the shelter.
For one, was concerned about the fees and hoping that we would keep them at an absolute minimum. But in light of the fact that there's a state regulation, and also there's something to be said for helping the Humane Society financially. So I've kind of altered my thinking on that. Anybody else? Question? Council Ring?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I think that it got lost when we spoke about this in October, but the leash law inclusion, we've defined it. That's great. I'm curious, it wasn't 100% clear to me, but I don't think that we're maintaining a control law. We're saying that in this ordinance, you have to walk your dog with a leash unless you're in a dog park.
There's a couple exceptions, but yeah, that's more or less the case. Yeah.
What kind of exceptions?
In a designated dog park, is the biggest one. If it's if it's in your vehicle, you don't need to have the dog on a leash. And this is by state law now, if it's being used to legally hunt, chase, or tree wildlife while under the supervision of its keeper. But none of that is particularly lawful in cities. And the protection of certain livestock doesn't need to be. But otherwise, yeah.
Or on your own property.
Or right, if it's on your own property, there's not a tether law. But yes, that's right. Otherwise, staff's recommendation and is for a leash law. Yeah.
Okay. That's like the last concern that I have with, I think we've addressed everything, but I think due to the lack of dog parks and facilities that we have in this city, I'm a dog owner. I know that, you know, I can maintain control of my dog. I know several other dog owners that can as well and do. I'd be, you know, I think it would be important to have something in there. I think we can do it tonight if we all agree. Simple language that would, you know, I don't know what sort of, if we need like some sort of burden of proof or something like that when you register your dog, or has it been through some sort of training or something like that. But there are, and I'm also thinking, and the other reason this is in the back of my mind as well is because there are veterans that do walk around, you know, with dogs that are there to help them. And I'm not suggesting that all of those dogs are running around walking with their owners or without a leash, but it is a thing, right? So I want to make sure that we take that into consideration.
Well, following up on that suggestion, you know, I notice people running their dogs at open spaces other than the dog park, like Cirrhosis Park or the middle school is another place where I see a lot of dogs running around. And, you know, I like to have some more comments on Councilor Ring's suggestion. How do you guys feel about?
I just want to mention, Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that the rules of Cirrhosis Park, for example, are within the Northern Wasco County Parks and Recreation District. It's their park. I believe it is an on-leash park. I don't believe it's an off-leash park by their own rules. I think that this would be a great conversation to have with the Parks District or the Parks Department, Parks District, sorry. But, you know, whether that park becomes, you know, on leash or off leash, it certainly seems like it's up to them. Frankly, yeah.
And I think the only other thing I would add is, you know, a lot of the constituent feedback or commentary around having a leash law as opposed to voice control is the safety aspect. You know, we've had several people comment around, you know, my dogs are on a leash, the other dogs aren't. Sure, they're on voice control, but they're really not. My dog's friendly, my dog's friendly. Thank you very much, but my dogs aren't. There's an altercation. There isn't a leash to easily separate the dogs. I think that's one element here too. In addition to the dynamic of, you know, we don't have a dedicated dog park in this facility, in this community, and it's something that we've talked about for many years.
We have one.
That's true. True. We do have one up at Firehouse on the.
Sorry to interrupt, but
No, that's true. That's true. I think that was intended as a temporary facility, but it has been there for about 5 or 6 years, I believe.
At least.
And I think balancing that with that safety element and what we've heard from a lot of our constituents is an important piece.
I'd be willing to have that conversation, Councilor Ring, if you feel like you could make an amendment, you know, to an emotion that is effective and feasible. I feel that, you know, for every 10 dog owners, 10 of them will say, oh yeah, I got it under control. And 9 will be lying through their teeth or deceiving themselves as to what level of control they have. And it's tough making rules for everybody, knowing that there will be exceptions. That's just the way it is. But if you can come up with some way or pass the ordinance tonight, if we're so inclined, with direction to staff to amend it later, puts in a feasible functional exception. Might be another way to get at it. And not to put too fine a point on it, but we do, in my opinion, we need another dog park or two. If my neighbors feel the same way, it's like, as we saw tonight, democracy is a participatory sport. Get in the game, talk to your city, your county, your parks district, and say, find us another dog park. And I would support that.
Yeah, I've definitely had that from constituents that have and residents of the Dalles that have asked for more dog parks. I think several of us have heard that.
Yeah.
I guess something for thought on this. If we pass the ordinance as it is today, and Northern Wasco County Parks District decides that Cirrhosis Park or the waterfront or something like that could be, maybe if it's not even designated as like a dog park, right? Because those are usually like fenced in and things. But if they change and they decide to take signs down or something like that, but it's not a designated dog park, then they would be in violation. A dog owner that would let their dog run off leash at Cirrhosis Park would be not in compliance with the ordinance as it's written this evening, because it's not a designated dog park.
But just so I make sure I understand, you said that the Parks District would change their rules.
Yeah, so right now they have, for instance, right now they have signs up that say that the dog should be on leash. There's no way to enforce it. Even going back to our spring discussion, I brought this up, and that was a point that was made during discussion back then, was that the Parks District has signs up, but there's no way for the city to enforce it. That was one of the reasons this is coming up. So if they did take those signs down and they modified their policy, would a dog owner at Cirrhosis Park, in this example, be in compliance or not?
Yeah.
They would be. Okay.
Yeah, I think, and just looking at page 73, just specifically at the verbiage, within the bounds of any lawfully established off-leash dog area or park. So if Parks and Rec allowed that on their facility, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's up to Parks.
Easy solved.
Yeah.
I sure hope they don't do that. Just speaking for myself, I think that would be a bad unintended consequence. Yeah.
Yeah. I sympathize with that, but I know there's also a lot of very responsible dog owners. I will say this, I will put this out on public record, that our own cross-country team at the Dalles High School has had several incidents. My own children have been nipped at and bit while they are at practice at Cirrhosis Park by dogs that are on leashes. So to just kind of provide some perspective as to like where I'm coming from, like leashes don't necessarily solve the problem. In fact, I think if you talk to a lot of dog owners and dog handlers and things like that, they'll even tell you that having a dog on a leash will make that dog more aggressive. So it's like a no-win situation, right? There's like people that are able to control their dogs. There's people that aren't, but it is what it is. I just want to make sure that those people are represented, because I'm one of them.
Well, I think that's one issue we need to get resolved tonight. Whether we pass this tonight or not, at least give the staff some direction. I'd like to open it up now to the public, and then we'll get back to this issue. First, we'll hear from Brianna, then from Commissioner Brady, and then from Roger Nichols, and I'll be right back.
May I go ahead? Was that?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Brianna Wimber, 766 East 18th Street. Thank you all for the discussion on the leash law. I think one thing to take into consideration without having voice control added to that ordinance is that you will make City of the Dalles a place where I can't play fetch with my dog. So when you go up to Cirrhosis Park in the mornings and you see all these people being responsible dog owners exercising their dogs so that their dogs are good in the neighborhoods and they don't bark and they don't create bad habits, playing fetch with a chuck it, that will essentially not be allowed anymore. So if you can imagine no dogs playing fetch in a park, because it's not a dedicated and authorized off-leash dog park, maybe the signage is silent, but I don't know that that makes it an authorized off-leash dog park. That makes me really sad. It makes me sad for selfish reasons for my own dog, but it also puts fear into me for the shelter because as dogs are not able to be exercised and playing fetch and getting their energy out, they will create bad habits and they'll deteriorate the relationships between dogs and their owners. So I think just some food for thought. Of course, I promote educated dog owners that put in the time and effort to train their dogs for voice or electronic e-collar. And so just food for thought for tonight.
Would the council be okay with me, with the mayor not being here, responding to that just briefly?
I mean, I personally would agree with that, and I think the use of an e-collar is very useful, and I completely agree that the habits of a dog not being able to exercise, and you keep a dog of any size cooped up in your house or a small yard in the Dalles. Let's just face it, like our residential areas here in the city are not huge, right? Not all of them. So being able to properly exercise your animal, your pet as a family member, and not being able to exercise it to keep up those good habits is a terrible thing. And I would hate for the few of our residents that have dogs that can't do that reliably, and in a responsible manner. I would hate for those people to penalize the pool of people and residents that do have animals that are under control and well behaved. So maybe there's some e-collar language and things like that. Yeah.
I think the distinction I want to make here is, Cirrhosis Park or City Park or Lewis and Clark Park is subject to the rules that those organizations have for those parks. And if Cirrhosis Park is not an off-leash park, this ordinance really doesn't impact those rules, to my understanding. And what we're really talking about with the city's ordinances, along sidewalks and right of way and areas such as that. My understanding, as the city attorney mentioned a moment ago, is Cirrhosis is not an off-leash dog park now.
Right.
And that won't change whether or not we adopt this ordinance tonight or not. So I don't disagree with you on, giving dogs exercise. I mean, I try to give my dogs as much exercise with walks and runs and whatnot on sidewalks and whatnot. I have my dogs leashed, but I think the core of that, the matter is having that space to bring dogs that is set up and intended for that. That really helps answer that question. But passing this ordinance or not doesn't change the rules at Cirrhosis Park, for example.
What about Thompson Track?
I don't know all the park rules, or D21 rules. Yeah.
There are places that we can do this, but if we pass the ordinance in the way that it's written right now with the leash law, there's no wiggle room for anything.
I think, I mean, Matthew's, I think 100% correct. I think the school, has anybody talked to the Parks District about any of these concerns at the city? We've been talking about this ordinance for 2 years.
I've made the recommendation.
I think there's a fruitful conversation to be had there. There's, as we know, we have a more deliverables focused relationship with numerous entities, and we have, in fact, some potential buckets of money. The tourism money comes to mind that might be a really lively and useful conversation. I guess I don't dispute your point, Councilor Ring. I think dogs need exercise. In fact, that Yeah, agreed. If someone is to have a dog, they need to have the time, the space, the money, and the will to take care of it properly and exercise it, care for it. That's on the dog owner. I see people walking dogs every day on leashes, and somehow they manage to make it work. So, as I say, I'm for speaking for myself. I'm willing to have a conversation about control. But I guess I don't personally see leashes in public as a huge imposition. I think leashes, with some exception that we could come up with maybe now, maybe later, that allows people to demonstrate a level of training and real control, not just sort of my dog's friendly control, but actual command and control. That would be great. That might incentivize people to actually see through some of their intention to train when they get a dog. Which I don't think would be a bad thing.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I think one thing I heard the council say is that if the Parks Department, for example, changed their rules at Cirrhosis Park, again, hypothetically, does that make it a lawfully established off-leash dog area or park? I go back to the definition on page 73 under running at large. Is there something in that area to clarify, Councilor Ring?
That's one of my questions is like, right now, the way that I read this is if the Parks District changes the rules at some place, sorry, if the Parks District, the way that I read this, and I could be wrong, is that if the Parks District changes the rule, their own rule, that's not enforceable by law at Cirrhosis Park, and they say that, you know, the softball fields, when there's not a game present or whatever, you can like play fetch with your dog or something. That currently it's not a designated dog park, but they get rid of the leash rule at the park. You would not be in compliance by letting your dog run, fetch, do whatever that frankly people do currently, right? So if they change the rule, you still wouldn't be in compliance unless they actually designated a dog park.
Is that a different question than the one I answered earlier? And I said, yes, they'd be in compliance, or is it the same question?
Yeah, it might be the same question.
I think it sounds like the same question to me. And to clarify, there's no hidden bar here. We can absolutely make this explicit to say in a park where off-leash activity is allowed, it's a clerical. If that's the hang up, happy to do it.
That's perfect.
Yep.
Commissioner Brady, you want to address the city council? Thank you for coming.
Bill Brady, 822 West 18th Street and Wasco County Commissioner. Thank you very much for working very hard on this issue. I realize it's a very difficult issue as it happened at our last county commission. Dr. Lindsay also came and spoke to us about the same issue with some justified indignation because the county has its dog ordinance that says it applies to all veterinary hospitals in Wasco County, which she pointed out there are no veterinary hospitals in the jurisdiction of Wasco County because there are no veterinary hospitals outside of the city of the Dalles. So she was saying, why is the county putting rules on us? And we say, you are right, you did that. So we're going to be going back and looking at our own dog ordinances. The issues in the county, of course, are different. The issues that we find mostly are noise from people who are doing dog breeding out in the county, and their neighbors complain about that. Dogs running out on farms, nobody has a better life than a dog on a farm, and they are athletes. Point where I do want to point out and appreciate is one place that the county and the city I see in complete agreements is that licensing can be done at the veterinary hospital. That is the one place where there's a control that can be managed and business can be transacted that's most efficient. Beyond that, what I look for is I appreciate that once you get your ordinance up and together, have the county, we can do something that I would use the word cohere that there'll be some rules that are different in the county, but they fit with the rules in the city where they apply differently.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak and late night patience all of you have. I want to take a little bit different tack. I would not be able to go home tonight and talk to my wife if I did not make this statement on her behalf. She's a small woman. She walks in the park. Dogs come up, jump on her, throw her down. Oh, they're fine. They're friendly. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everybody who's walking their dog off the leash in the park is committing a crime. The sign they have is at the back end of the park. You have to be all the way up at the farthest place from the parking spot to see the sign that says it's a leash park. So I don't want to give any exceptions. If I see somebody coming toward me with a dog off leash, I don't know if this is a perfectly trained shepherd dog that moves sheep around or some bozo that just has this dog. I don't think there's any way to tell if somebody can or can't control the animal from a distance from a person who's walking in a park, minding their own business. So I'm not in favor of anything unless they find a dog park. There should be a place a dog should run. They should not be doing it at a park where it's not supposed to happen. It's scoff laws that people do. I go up there and I walk and say, hey, did you know that this is an all? Oh, yeah, sure. I don't care. That's the kind of stuff we're putting up with. If we allow this, you just let more designation of society to go down. So I'm not, and again, I have owned dogs. I don't own dogs now because I don't have a big enough place to run. I fully believe that people who live in tiny places and buy big dogs are irresponsible owners and shouldn't be allowed to own them anyway. So that's my rant. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I would like to say amen, brother.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak? Yes, sir. Come forward.
Check his ID.
Also set the
I have no
limit, 3 minutes.
Jim Wilcox, thank you. Jim Wilcox, 416 West 7th, Dalles. I spoke before and want to commend the staff for the work they put into this and how far they've gotten and the way it is. I am fully in support of this. So anything I say after this, don't forget, I am fully in support of what you're doing. The only two places that I think may have to be revisited later, as I mentioned last time, and you didn't address it, one breeding female with their gestation period, you could have from 20 to 35 puppies in that house by the end of your 6 months. Because some of these breeds will poop out anywhere from 6 to 14 puppies, and they can do it every 2.5, 3 months. And these people that are breeding dogs do that. I know, I live next to it. And that's another reason I am so thrilled with this, because we had no ordinances for our enforcement people to do anything with the mess that was next door. It took 8 months to get it straightened out using zoning ordinances. So this is a great thing. Thank you so much for even considering it and for the staff putting the time in. I think you've got something that's pretty close to really good. As far as dogs off leash, I'm one of the ones that goes up there at 6:30 in the morning. If it's light enough, my dog's off the leash. Unless I see another dog, then it goes on the leash. We know the dogs up there. We know the people. We know the dog. Well, actually, we know the dog names. We don't know the people names. I actually passed you twice. Well, my last time in the park, and that's the latest in the day I've ever gone there. We're usually in and out of the park before 8 o'clock. And the people we see up there are the same people every time. The ones that have dogs on leashes, those dogs need on leashes. The ones that don't have dogs on leashes, it's pretty obvious they're under control. Most of them won't come up to you. They won't come up to our dog won't go to them. It's an interesting little community. But if I were not with those people or didn't know the dog, then I'm a responsible dog owner. But unfortunately, you're looking at rules cover the 10% of knuckleheads that don't control their dog, penalizing the 90% that do. There's one dog up there. It's named Sykes. And if you know Oliver Twist, the Sykes character, was a real renegade. Sykes comes off his leash. He does about 400 miles around that park. Doesn't hurt a thing. Just absolutely nuts. Comes back to his owner, goes home. So that's something that I don't know how you're going to address it, that there are those. And if I were out in the community, I guess I break the leash law. I don't on sidewalks. If we're in town, that dog's on a leash. And it's for her protection because she's afraid of every other thing on earth. And she's a greyhound lab mix, not a small dog. But please vote yes. Get this done. Get it going. I think you've got a good system for linking it to the rabies shots, working with the vets, putting a minimal pressure on them. Don't hesitate. Get it done. And if there's a real problem later, it's not set in stone. It can be amended. So get her done tonight so you can go on to other things. Otherwise, your meeting's already gone to the dogs. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I can, like I mentioned earlier, wordsmithing that provision about lawfully established dog parks, that's no problem. And so if that is a change the council would like me to make, and revise the draft of the ordinance, I'd recommend staff's recommendation would be to adopt this ordinance as amended.
Could you be more specific about what you were going to say about the dog park?
Yeah. Just to sort of emphasize and address Councilor Ring's concern that maybe there's some like gray area where if the Parks District changes their rules, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a lawfully established dog park. And so I intend on just expanding it so that in the absence of any rule, the default is like if dogs are allowed, that should be fine. If the property owner allows dogs to run off leash, there's lots of ways to keep it very broad. Ultimately, in the state of Oregon, it doesn't really matter what I say. What matters is the council's intent. That can be informed by what I say and when I write the law. But it's very clear to anybody who's looking at this video 5 years from now that council's intent was for there not to be that gap, a potential gap, and that absent a rule saying otherwise, yeah, the default can be it's off leash unless there's a rule that says, that would be the easiest way to do what Councilor Ring has indicated he would like to have seen done.
Maybe I missed this, but do we know what District 21's policy is on that? We know what the Park District says. Do we know what the school does?
So my understanding is that like the baseball field, stuff like that don't, or the soccer field, sorry, out at the track at Watonka, I don't believe dogs are allowed.
It is true, no dogs allowed.
But the rest of their facilities, they are. For example, the middle school, they got that big.
I don't recall seeing a specific sign at the middle school.
I don't think there is one at the middle school, but
Yeah, and I don't think Thompson Track is a District 21.
Yes,
it is.
It's owned by District 21.
I mean, we've been up there a lot with the kids, like running and stuff. I don't recall a specific
either.
Thompson Track. But
It's
yeah.
There's a sign, it's ignored, it's vandalized. People do what they want.
at the Thompson Track?
Yeah. Most of them are okay, some aren't. Be nice to have a leash law. We can say, look, we're not, I mean, let's get real. We're not going to be like going around scooping up everyone's really well-behaved, polite dog who's 3 feet away from them. The time that we will respond is when we have someone available and there's a problem. Most people are willing to tolerate a dog. But most, I would say, a high percentage of dog owners don't recognize when they are causing problems because it's not a problem for them. So I would like to see a leashable enforced law. I would like to see sources not turn into a dog park as such. I think that would be a rotten outcome. I would like to see a large community dog park. Not to put too fine a point on it, but there's a really large chunk of public land now on the far west end of the community that we could look at.
I think getting another dog park is years away, whether it's Park District or county, my own personal opinion.
And my personal opinion, I totally understand Councilor Richardson's position and point, but this is a law. It will be a law in the city of the Dalles. And I want it to be explicitly clear that you can still, there could be additional penalties, right? If somebody gets hurt, yeah, you're going to get hemmed up. But there needs to be provisions. We don't need to penalize the 80 or 90% for the 10% that are irresponsible.
I don't know. A lot of our laws do,
You're what?
A lot of our laws do. right? We penalize, we say there are things you're not allowed to do, even if you're really good at it. You can't drive with, inebriated, even if a person feels like they can. It's just not acceptable, right? And that's sort of this, everyone gets penalized. I just feel like that's unfortunate to have people that are not causing problems have to follow rules. But I guess I don't see what the alternative. It's like there's got to be some number of
I
rules.
think our city manager has pretty appropriate lingo.
And just to kind of maybe put a cap on it and not to jump wordsmithing anything, but again, on page 73,
Yeah.
running at large, section A, within the bounds of any lawfully established off-leash dog area or park where off-leash activity is allowed. Something as simple as that,
Yep.
I think helps.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is not, the intent is not to have dogs walking off leash down Second Street. The intent is for people to be able to take their dogs someplace and have them
That
exercise.
property owner allows, and that gives them that discretion.
It just makes it incumbent on the property owners to maybe provide the school, the parks, to just be clear about what the rules are.
Be their decision for their property.
Yeah.
Okay, am I to understand that you would be happy with that language, Counselor Ring?
I think I would be happy with that.
Okay, and Counselor Richardson, how do you feel about what this?
The clam. Happy.
Okay, I think we're almost there. How about the other, Counselor McLaughlin, Runyon, Randall?
I'm just happy.
You're just happy?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Randall, you okay with the language?
I'm okay with it. I'm ready to make a motion. Do we need to read into that language that we're going to amend it with?
As amended.
Counselor Runyon, you okay?
Amended.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to adopt General Ordinance number 25-1421 by title only as presented, as amended.
Hoffman will second.
It's been moved by Counselor Randall and seconded by Counselor McLaughlin to pass this ordinance. Does anybody want to hear the ordinance read in its entirety?
No.
Will the city clerk please read the ordinance by title only?
Did you ask for discussion?
I thought we had that, but that's, we're open for discussion. Go ahead.
I would just say that all these comments are good or whatnot, and we will learn how they can be enacted as we go along, as we have done with other ordinances. We can revisit these things, whether it's a predetermined time or not. But I think we'll find out how it really works once it gets in play. So we have some time. Okay.
I also want to make the comment that the trifold looks really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Good job.
Pointing at something?
The credit goes to Amy and
Oh, you're pointing at
Doug
Amy?
Kramer and yeah.
Oh, okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
And
So to read it, yeah.
I just can't get this thing right every time. We got to read it in its entirety. I screw something up. Go ahead.
General Ordinance number 25-1421, an ordinance amending the Dalles Municipal Code, Chapter 5.20, dog control.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the staff work on this. Thank you. Okay, any other business to come before the city council?
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor. I just really want to thank Amy and Abby publicly for all the help today of working not only on my phone, but on others around this dais. And our IT department came in late this afternoon to make sure that we got online and whatnot with our new emails and so forth. So I appreciate that. And I was gone when and she's left today, but Brenda Fahey wrote a letter to staff and everybody that is one of the most articulate and just a heartwarming note that she sent out, I guess, just before Thanksgiving, and well appreciated. And I wish, we hadn't gone quite so long as she left, but hope you'll convey my thank you to her. It was very nice. I know some of you sent an email, whatnot. I didn't get a chance to do that, but for being in town in such a short amount of time to write such a heartfelt letter, that's really moving. So thank her.
I agree, and I told the city manager as such. I hope you pass that on to Brenda. Okay, anything else? Anybody? Okay, with that.